You are listening to the ReRACEables Podcast.
Alright, here we are, everyone. Welcome back to the ReRACEables Podcast. I am your host, Tom. So excited to be here with the crew. Going around the horn. Nicole, how are you? Welcome back.
Welcome. Thank you.
We're off and running. Lizzy, welcome back. Coming back from Kansas City. It's good to have you here tonight.
Hi, Tom. Good to be here.
Jeremy, in from Brooklyn. Thank you for being here, sir.
Why, yes, of course, sir.
All right. And Josh, joining us also from Kansas City after his trip. How do you feel about being here tonight, Josh?
I feel great.
All right, let's get right into it. I feel great, too. This is really exciting. Season 33. The world is waiting. And before we jump right into our whole thing, let's just go over a little bit of what we're going to do here. On the ReRACEables Podcast, before a season, we want to break it down as much as possible and have as much fun with it as possible. So we've come up with this concept of power rankings. Check out tribalcouncilblog.com for Amazing Race Season 32, Season 11. Check out what we've done in the past. This is our third season, and we're going to run it back to start with our preseason rankings. The way we comprise this, everybody has their different process, I think. Am I right to say that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
But the general shared gist of it is that we rank everybody from 11 to 1, from worst to best, and we go that way, and we'll go around the horn, and we'll get to that. But before we jump into the power rankings, a couple things to think about heading into this new season in the pandemic. Jeremy, what did you learn? Catch us up to speed a little bit.
Yeah, so pressing question is definitely how COVID impacted Season 33. So I did a little looking into, so they started filming Season 33 in February of 2020. They got about a week into filming, so that's 3 legs of the race, and then they just stopped. They knew the pandemic was on track to prevent them from being safe. So in 72 hours, this team, they got all the contestants along with like all the crew, which amounted to I think 3,000 people. Wow. They got everyone across the world. They got everyone home in 72 hours.
It's an amazing race in the Amazing Race.
Yeah,
truly, how fast can you get home? The new tool to the Amazing Race. But after 18 months of being in the pandemic, CBS Studios decided to resume the Amazing Race. And so just this past fall, they were able to wrap up filming for Season 33. Wow. 13 cities, 7 countries, and they are starting something new this season. They're starting everyone at home.
Was this before the pandemic?
Yeah, so actually before the pandemic, in February, they started they decided this was going to be new for 33, coming from 32, start everyone at home and fly them all to the same location. And then from there, like the race is already starting.
So the race doesn't start from home,
according to,
or when they all get there.
According to Phil video that I kind of watched a bit, that's something he mentioned, was that's what was different. So I guess after seeing episode 1, we'll know exactly how they did it.
And what about Phil? Phil's intro. It's the best part of the start of the season.
That's what I was thinking. I'm going to miss the dramatic, each team coming in on a speedboat.
He does it on the phone, according to the video he showed. Similar to Season 28 a bit. It's a step up from Season 28. Season 28, it was just a phone call and a text. Oh. This season, get this. It's a full screen video on your mobile device.
Just why?
But let's go back to that idea of the first 3 legs and then it just stops. How does that affect the race? How does that affect strategy? Going home?
It affects everything. You start the race and then you're in it for a month and that's it. And so I think it's going to impact our rankings. I think some people will return home and then work out every single day and then are 3 times as fit as they were when they started. You could do a bunch of research. You could, do you know what I mean? It's like you can take that time to use to your advantage for the race, and then you're suddenly not the team that you were when you were cast in February of 2020. So I think the people that we're seeing and what they've advertised, like how the teams are advertised now, might not be who they are at all by the 4th episode. So
you're so right.
I think that we have rankings for the first 3 episodes, and then after that, it is a toss-up, because who knows?
And by that point, you would know somewhat, if you're a contestant, how you work with the other teams.
Exactly.
Or relationships.
God forbid, what if one of the team members got COVID and passed away from it? Then you don't have that same team, you have somebody else come in. Do you know what I mean? It's like anything could have happened.
I wonder if they limit communication between the teams, you know?
Yeah, that's a huge thing, too, because in Survivor and Amazing Race, if they were to have, like, a returning players season, these people have relationships.
Yeah.
And those pre-existing relationships affect the game.
Right.
Winners at War at Survivor, that affected the game dramatically. Alliances, people who trusted each other more than other people. You know, I'm sure in the Amazing Race, if they give people a stop, you know, how can you limit people's contact and communication? Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but it's definitely going to affect everything.
I'm thinking also momentum-wise, whether good or bad. If you're like having a good few, legs, and then all of a sudden stop, or if you're like going 4 nights without sleep, it's going to affect your performance the next day. Whereas if it stops, now everyone hits refresh.
This is the longest pit stop in the Amazing Race history.
And then think about, too, we've been living in the pandemic, right? And the many phases and stages and information coming out, new information, questioning what's happening, what we do now. Life has changed. I'm a different person. I live differently. Traveling, am I doing that? All these things. And then you're asking these people, who I would assume and hope they were all like, yes, get me back on this race as soon as possible. But I think, Lizzy, you said, like, this is going to affect some people. And I wonder if we'll be able to see a difference in people's kind of, I don't know, spirits and who they are, like, post the first 3 legs. Are we going to see a different kind of, are we going to notice a COVID effect? You know, a COVID screen over this lens in the 4th, 5th, 6th episode.
Yeah, well, first off, like CBS, the reason they were able to resume after 18 months was because the vaccine came out. But kind of what's been said, too, like COVID is a factor. So for me, when we talk about it, my power rankings, I did a lot of thinking about how each team manages stress. I think that's going to be a huge factor. Stress is already a factor in the Amazing Race, as we know. But now with COVID, you never know, like, what we haven't seen these contestants yet, so we have no idea. So I thought about how I would imagine the stress is multiplied with now these COVID guidelines, not just if you are afraid of COVID, but in terms of dealing with all the protocols in place, you know, air flight travel. That changed. How you interact probably with different businesses. There are probably some changes there too. So how you take that stress and manage it, I think the team that comes out on top, that'll be a factor that they have a strength in.
Not to mention age, right? If you came into it 56 years old, you're now 58 years old. That's a very different age to be competing in the Amazing Race.
Or the risk factors that we initially in those first months of older people versus young people. I mean, everybody's relatively middle-aged, except for, I think it's Arun,
Arun, I think.
Arun, who's the oldest competitor. But it's definitely going to affect everyone. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out on TV. Masks, are they in masks? How's that going to look? How's that going to work? You know, you kind of follow people and their storylines, and you kind of fall for these different people because you see them all the time, and it might be a different experience for sure. One other thing before we jump into the rankings that affected my rankings, and I think it'll have affected each of you, and I'm interested to see how it did, or it didn't maybe, is we are coming off season 32, and Will and James were the winners, and we did our power rankings, and we had our system in place that we're going to repeat here. Did 32 and the outcome of 32 affect anybody's 33 rankings?
Yes. 32 was definitely a big influence in how I observe what we're given on each of the contestants and actually evaluate what strengths are good for the race versus what strengths are good for maybe something on a much smaller scale, or my first impression of what strength is.
I noticed myself writing references down to other teams, but from 32.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that until after I'd already sort of peppered in everybody into where I thought they should fall.
Okay.
So I was like, first impressions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. And I tried to not give it a lot of thought, because I was like, okay, gut instinct, gut reaction. You watch that video once, what do you think? And so then I put everyone where I thought they should be. And then I thought about it more. This is my process, I guess.
Yeah, let's do
And then I kind of move people up and down based on that. And that's kind of where I started thinking, like, do we have a Hung and Chi on our hands? Do we have who's the Will and James here? What energy is this?
Yes.
And I think it's a good thing that they don't cast replicas of the same archetypes. Like, it's always a conglomerate of a bunch of different things, which is great, and that's why it makes the show interesting. But I already have out my planned, like, here's why I put this person there, and it says, like, this kind of team's energy, and I feel like because we studied season 32 so closely, we all kind of know what that means.
I had a very similar process. I go through each video and watch their little clip, and I'm judging them, right? I'm judging hard based on the little information you have, like their age, their relationships between each other, their occupation I pay close attention to.
Yeah.
And then just like what they highlight as their why for doing the race.
Agreed.
You know? Is it, we never really got a honeymoon, or is it, we want to win this?
Yeah.
You know? Big difference.
Yeah, I mean, I guess piggybacking off everybody, I thought mostly about how you work with each other. And I think we've seen that a lot. Especially thinking about, like, long-distance lovers. Again, like, we've seen that not do too great. But we've seen best friends or siblings do really well. Or even partners. And that's kind of how I thought about it. It was funny, last year I think we had 4 categories. We had like a top category, and then like a almost top, and then a not so much top, and then a bottom. And I think this season I did it in 3s. I did like a top, a middle, and a bottom. And then once I put them all into each category, it just kind of fell into place.
I did the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. And I think my top, middle, and bottom, I extrapolate a little bit more as far as giving it a title.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, you know. But I actually have 4 categories this time. I have at the bottom my no chance people, because I see this whole process in the rankings through the lens of, if you ran the race 1,000 times,
You always think.
what would be the average number that people would place in, right? So my 11th place team is the team I think that would have the lowest total score after 1,000 races if you could somehow rerun it every time, and all the way up to 1. The no chance people at the bottom. Then I have the good experience category. Out of 1,000, might win it once, twice, 3 times, whatever, a handful at most, but are ultimately there for that good experience, to share it with their father or their daughter, or their friend that they work with, or other things like that. Then my next category up from there is the sleepers, right? The people that I think would win a little bit more often than those good experience people, and that in this one time of the race, maybe could take it. And then the top 2 categories, this year's contenders, I only have 1, and then I have 2 favorites. That's my top category, that I think ultimately, again, those top 3. Same thing with season 32, which definitely influenced me. You know, I thought about Will and James. I had at number 3. They were one of my contenders, right outside the favorites, but they were kind of interchangeable a little bit with my 2 and 1, and I was a little biased on my 1 last time. But with Gary and D'Angelo, ultimately the favorites and the contenders are the people that I think would take home the majority of the wins if we were to run it 1,000 times.
Do we think there's going to be any crossover with Survivor? The way that Survivor made this season was that it's the hardest season ever and it's the most physically challenging. Do we think that that is part of the zeitgeist and Amazing Race is also going to take that? Or do we just think that Survivor kind of is its own entity and Amazing Race is its own entity?
I definitely think that Survivor, they really much took it from we need a new era, drop the 4, keep the 1. This is a new era of Survivor. I think Jeremy's point about, the beginning of season 33 for the race is a very different beginning. That's a very different idea of how the show can start. And my guess is that the maybe not this season, because they probably wanted to just finish this one and figure out a way to do that, but maybe going forward, 34, 35, 36, I think we might see a little bit more of an impact of a new era in The Amazing Race.
So a follow-up to that, right? Like if we know that leg 3 starts post the COVID pause, but still during COVID, is that second leg of the race going to be a more physically challenging leg because they can't travel as much? Or is it going to be a more mentally challenging because they can't travel that much?
Well, if we're talking in terms of TV programming, Survivor, to me, brings a lot of physicality more, whereas Amazing Race embraces both, I would say, more a hybrid of both the physical and mental. So maybe to widen audiences, for speaking from studio and broadcasting point of view, they may have a little bit more mentally challenged or more what I'm going to call it utilitarian skills that will be put to the test.
Yeah, so we saw that there's an Amazing Race jet. That means that they're not running through airports anymore. What does that mean? How does that affect it? Are they going from a warehouse in Germany to a warehouse in Australia away from people and just doing tasks? Is that maybe someone who is not as physical is going to succeed in a game that's in that post-COVID leg? Or is it there, and is it more like Survivor, and it's like, well, because you don't have to travel, we're going to make it twice as hard, and you have to stand on a pole for 24 hours. Like, what does that mean, and how do you foresee that second leg of the race landing?
I also thought about season 8, which we didn't cover yet on the and Josh's reaction tells it all. Does everybody remember season 8?
Remind me.
The family season.
The worst
season. Right,
that's what I thought.
That was they put everybody in a car and they drove them around America, and I think they went to Panama. Was the only place.
Yeah.
And you remember the Italian mother? I want to go to Australia. Whatever, she was so pissed.
Yeah.
They were like the most unlikable family ever.
My God.
Just something like that for this season, right? Maybe.
Is there a jet?
City and country is there.
I saw an Amazing Race jet in one of the previews.
Wow, that affects my power ranking.
Well, now
it's too late, Jeremy.
I know, it's in pen, it's written down.
All right, well, let's get into that. I think it's time.
Yes.
So, that's what
do you want me to explain power rankings?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, this is my favorite thing. All right, so the way we do this is everybody gets a number, 11 through 1, and we place our people as to when they're going to get voted out. So 11 would be first person voted out, all the way to number 1, your winner. In theory, if you guess correctly, 11, 10, 9, 8, you can add up all of your numbers left, right? If each team correspond to a number, you can add up all of your numbers left, and you would have the lowest amount of numbers. Now, for instance, if one person gets number 11 correct, but then number 10 is actually number 6 on your power rankings, then you shouldn't be able to go ahead of somebody who did number 10 and number 11. So this keeps an even, fair game, and we average the numbers at the end, or we add up the numbers at the end of the week, and it's a really interesting way to even though we're all scattered across the board, who has the most correct in the best order.
Yeah, and just for context, last year, Lizzy was our big winner.
Woo-hoo!
Lizzy, yeah, good job.
Still riding that high.
Yeah, at the end of the whole season, Lizzy had the lowest score because she had Will and James number 1, and nobody else had that, so she had 1 point remaining. That was the low score, and Lizzy won.
We're playing golf here, guys.
That's it. So number 11. Who would like to start with telling us who they got at the bottom of the barrel?
I feel like it's only right as my holding the position as previous winner to,
previous number 11.
Yeah.
You nailed number 11 last time, Cody and Nathan. Shout out to the Noodlers. You nailed them as team number 11. They went out first, and Lizzy was off and running, foreshadowing her eventual win.
I hope they're doing well. I hope they're vaccinated.
Oh, they're doing well.
So my number 11 is, and I apologize if I butcher the name, Akbar and Sheridan are my number 11. They're the married educators, principal and teacher. Mm-hmm. I think they have an amazing attitude. Mm-hmm. I think they are in it for a good experience, and I think they're going to get it. I just don't know if they have the drive to win. I don't know if that competition element is there, so I think that they're going to have a great time and be out first.
Nicole, number 11.
My number 11 team is, I hope I pronounced it correctly, Caro and Ray. The Love Island influencers, and Jeremy Stein is nodding in agreement. I just think they're a long-distance relationship. Mm-hmm. So how much experience do they have really communicating and working through adversity? Probably not much. I don't see a lot of, competitive edge to them. I think they're in it for a good time and to get their face on TV.
That's the name of the game for influencers.
That's it.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I think it's fitting I go next, because I, too, put them as my number 11. The Love Island couple. I would say, of all of the teams competing this season, I think they have the weakest relationship. I don't watch Love Island, but I could tell. I got an eye. That'll be the phrase, maybe, of this season of ReRACEables Podcast. I exactly as you put it. They just... I don't even see the drive in them. They're giddy, they're long distance dating, and are recently dating. I think their relationship, if they are not the first to get voted off, their relationship is definitely going to break the soonest. But yeah, I put them as number 11 because I truly think how, as Josh was saying earlier, how the team is built. I think this season, especially post the COVID times in this break, that's really going to be a defining factor in this race.
Josh?
I also have Akbar and Sheridan. I think that the first leg is less about communication and working together and a bit more of the physical journey, and I see them probably as not as physically fit as other teams. I actually do think that they would work well together, and they're smart, and they're patient, and they're verbal, and they're communicative. But even though they did play Division I basketball, I'm not sure how physically active they are currently. And I think some younger folks like Caro and Ray will be able to get through this first challenge, but I don't want to jump ahead, but I would have them as number 10. So I'm not in disagreement with you all. I just think that they would, Akbar and Sheridan would go out first.
I got a couple hot takes on this, on these rankings.
Hot takes.
Okay, and maybe I tried to do that. I don't know. Maybe I didn't. But my number 11 team is Anthony and Spencer.
Really?
Wow.
Anthony and Spencer, the childhood friends and everyday heroes. Let me justify how I got there.
Please do.
First of all, if you learn their story, it's so insane, right? Their story is completely insane. They're on a train to Paris, and they're on vacation, and they act to stop an ISIS terrorist from doing severe damage.
He rushes an ISIS bomber.
Yeah. Insane. Completely insane.
Yeah.
Like,
Act
the president, first. Right, the whole thing.
Act first, think later.
Right. That's not what the race is, though.
Acting
exactly.
under stress.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But
it's why I said that, because I think you're onto this, Tom.
I think they have... First of all, they already have had their 1 in a million moment. Right?
Oh.
They've already had their... They're not adding Amazing Race champion to meeting President Obama, getting medals of freedom or whatever medals they get, and whatever it is.
Didn't they have a movie made about him?
Yes, they did. They did.
Thank you for bringing that up, because Nicole and I went to go see that movie. And it was during that, what was that card? The Movie Pass.
Red...
No, Movie Pass.
AFC Movie Pass.
Yeah, which is great. You can see as many movies as you want, and whatever. It didn't cost. It cost you.
Not an official sponsor yet.
Exactly. It's not even Truth be told, Nicole and I walked out in the middle of the movie.
Wow.
It was a stinker.
And why was it a stinker? It was just bad acting. They were like taking selfies.
Okay, let's get back to the power ranking.
This is all part of it because they were in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, they were in it?
They were themselves.
They were the actors.
Were they themselves?
Sorry if you're listening.
Yeah,
sorry. Jesus.
But it's got another. But remember, we were spoiled. We could see we saw literally like 30 movies in like a month. So we could be very snotty when it came to that.
Oh my god.
Point is that again, they've had their story. They've already had their 1 in a million. And when Spencer said, problem solving, quick thinking, I just said, no, that's not it. Read the clue. Does not mean quick thinking. I'm out on Anthony and Spencer. Something to me just doesn't add up. To me, they look like they have very much Cody and Nathan vibes. I think that they're first out, and yeah. So
Can I challenge you on something?
Sure.
And I know you can't change it.
Number 11.
But last year, you picked Gary and D'Angelo. The people who have 1 in a million shot have already given that up and have done everything, has been a pro in the NFL, an all-star, millionaire already, and you chose him to win.
I'm a football guy. What do you
And how do you say they're
It's a
not
fallacy.
quick thinkers?
They are quick thinkers.
Not Gary and
That's the
D'Angelo.
problem.
Not Gary and
No,
D'Angelo.
not Gary and D'Angelo.
Anthony and Spencer.
Anthony and Spencer.
I know, I
They're
said
not
that's-
quick thinkers?
No, they are, and that's a problem.
It's a problem. Oh. Because they're
That's
not.
a
You
problem.
think because they're quick thinkers, they're not going to read a clue?
Correct.
I don't know.
They're
Well,
not
all right,
gonna read
I'll
the
say this.
clue. I think we saw that happens in 32. I think it bit people, and I think people like that. Again, we're reading between lines.
All right.
Tom, I do agree with you on that point. I didn't put them as low as you did, but I do agree. I think that there is this kind of... I feel there are going to come times during this race they will not read the clue fully, or they'll be quick to make assumption.
Absolutely.
But also in your defense, Tom, from 32, you've learned, like, from Gary and D'Angelo.
Sure.
And now you're applying that to this power ranking.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate the challenge. I appreciate the hashtag content.
That's right.
But, I admire your change of mind.
Right, and so I didn't want to do that. I kind of did it partially because it was hot take-ish, and I knew nobody else would do it. Because I wanted to put Caro and Ray. That is my number 10.
Mm.
In my blog post, I wrote very little about them. They're the youngest. They're influencers. I roll hard. The Love Island. They're reality TV people, but they weren't on like a race or something super competitive like that. They were just... I don't even know what Love Island is. I assume they just...
Like slice of life and no
I'll be honest,
more.
I thought that you were maybe going to watch a couple episodes after learning that these two were on The Amazing Race just to gain some information, so it's a surprise to me to hear that you did not.
Well, I did not, because I know their relationship is not going to last. I'm sure they are not together.
Yeah.
Even if when they were dating, I'm sure probably... I wonder if they're still around come episode 4 in the COVID time.
That'll
That's going to be a complete
Hey,
train
they
wreck.
were quarantining together?
Train wreck, folks.
Yeah.
I'll go right after. Yeah, they are my number 10 for all of the same reasons that everyone's already said. I will be thoroughly impressed if they make it to the 3rd or 4th leg. They don't have a lot of experience with each other, much less traveling around the world, running around, so we'll see. But number 10.
Yeah, I mean, I also have them as number 10. I don't see them as competitive. I see them here as for a good time.
Good job, everyone. Just a moment before we go to... Everybody had them in 10 or 11. We all saw right through it. Nicole, you're number 2.
Oh, could I also say that they are 25-ish. I think 24, 25, 26. Very young for the race.
And the girl Caro has, I think, over 500,000 followers. In the 2 days of trying to prepare, I've followed everybody on Instagram. She hasn't made one post about The Amazing Race.
They haven't been allowed to, I thought.
Others have.
Others
Even their,
definitely
like,
have.
Have they been commenting in
people are
the
posting,
other posts?
People are commenting.
Like
she is
cast
not
photo, she hasn't.
right. She hasn't even
Yeah.
done that, or the video that was on Instagram that we all
Mm.
watched.
Interesting.
Number 10, Nicole.
I have Lulu and Lala.
Okay.
I don't see the drive.
Wow.
I don't see the cunning that's necessary. it just kind of left me lackluster. It seemed gimmicky. Anytime I see like twins, I just think like, oh.
Some very good teams on The Amazing Race have been twins.
They usually do well, right? They do have a good relationship, but I understand what you're saying, and it's consistent. You got the two that kind of fit that bill that you're saying right at the bottom.
I also just keep associating, like, anytime I look at their names, I get the Teletubbies song stuck in my head. Tinky Winky, Dipsy, La La.
Anyway.
Jeremy, number 10.
Yeah, get ready for this, folks. Maybe hot take, Connie and Sam.
Wow.
And here's why.
Very hot take.
Very hot take. Because I know Sam is a football coach, but here's why. Like I said in 11, from what I've been saying, I think relationship is definitely going to be a factor in The Amazing Race. And I think in the interview, that in that 1 minute video that we kind of got, who did most of the talking? Mm-hmm. Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Sam did most of the talking, and Connie kind of just smiled and nodded, and
He'll for sure be dragging her along.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, dragging or
hump it, Terry.
That's what I have written underneath them for me in a good way. I have Terry and Ian energy for that team.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, yes, they've had a long marriage, and yes, like they've done good things for their community. But also, like, I didn't see too much of a drive, which is something that's been said. So, I don't know. Like,
au contraire,
I
Jeremy.
see lots of drive.
All right. Hot take. Great.
We got number 9. Number 9.
Number 9 is Taylor and Isaiah. This was a hard one. I had a tough time. Okay, Lizzy.
I'm sorry.
Audience at home.
Where are you getting into?
So,
have you gotten? You're still in your bottom half.
This is my bottom 3.
Yeah, is that what you feel?
I did top 4, middle 4, bottom 3.
Got it.
So this is the end of my bottom 3, and it's Taylor and Isaiah. I think it was hard because I was bouncing them around between someone in my mid category.
Yeah.
But I just feel like they're going to get past the first 2 eliminations. I think they have that skill. They have the relationship to do it. But they are... I didn't see much in the way of what I think the race demands. I think they're very happy attitude. I think they could do well. They have the potential to do really well. But I didn't see anything that made them, to me, stand out in a way that they could potentially take this race.
Josh, number 9.
Number 9, I have... Oh, this might be a hot take. I have Kim and Penn. I think that they are the oldest racers. I think that they are too goofy. And there was a preview that I saw about him talking about his ADD and like how he could focus on doing a puzzle. Yeah. And I think that like... I think that we get... This is maybe overanalyzing, but I think that each team kind of has a nugget or two that gets revealed throughout the race. And if you give away your nugget, like your first challenge, then you're usually doomed for a short time on the show.
That's a good point.
We notice on Amazing Race, or we notice on Survivor, like the episode that they get voted out is the time when they realize their mom has cancer, and like that's why they're on the show. And it's the producers trying to get that storyline in because it's good to know. And so I just don't see them being here for a long time, but they'll be here for a good time.
Reading the tea leaves. Lizzy, number 9. Your bottom 3.
Well, so I had mine sorted kind of funny. I have a bottom 2.
Okay.
A middle 6 called Anyone's Game, and then I have a top 3 contenders.
Okay, can I just say quickly? I had a similar thing, but I forced it into my categories with no chance.
That's fair.
Experience.
I didn't want to force my because there
are
yours. 6 teams that I'm like, you all are just like this.
I agree. My middle ones were hard to figure out.
I was like, yeah.
It almost became hard to read.
Yeah.
That was the category.
Yeah. Exactly. What are we on 9? Mike and Mo, our singing police officers. Wow. I have
Mike and Mo.
I have as our number 9.
Number 9. Rank team.
Their mindset is like, let's show the world who we are. They have done their research. Their partners as cops. I think all of that is great, and that'll carry them for a long time. I don't know why. All I can describe it as is like a vibe that I don't think they're going to get very far. I can't explain it, but they did not impress me very much. Somehow, I feel like singing police officers, maybe that should impress, but I was like, I didn't really know what to do with them. I just don't think,
Sorry, Mike. And sorry, Mo.
I won't say now, but I hear the singing didn't do it much for me, but I did rank Mike and Mo very differently. But I will reveal that later.
Yeah, hold that thought. Number 9.
Number
Nicole.
9, I have Akbar and Sheridan.
Yeah.
It was time.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it.
And I will piggyback off that. I also had Akbar and Sherry.
Oh.
Number 9.
Yeah.
I'm a teacher. I'm in education. They are married educators. They are inspiring. They're competitive in the sense that I know they want to make their school great. Like, Akbar's a principal. The guy is a leader in his community. The both of them are. They're leaders in the community. I love that they're Division I athletes, but I didn't love that they were former Division I athletes.
Yes.
And Akbar to me looks like a giant human being.
Yes.
That he probably when he walks down the hallway, he commands respect. And in his school, I'm sure that is what makes him so successful. In part, just that physical presence that he is. But to get him on and off of planes and into taxi cabs and out, and maybe there's where the COVID thing, if they can make it past that, and he gets this first class situation of just getting on one plane and that's it, and it's taken out of it. Maybe it'll help them. But I don't see that team at their age, their physical stature, that really affected me with them laboring around the world faster than the other 10 teams. Number 8. This is my good experience category, and like I said before, Lizzy, I could have had. This was I can't get a great read on these couple teams, but I had Mike and Mo singing cops. Team number 8. Anyway, so I love that they're athletic. They're in shape. They're partners. Love that. Cops. Trust is in their relationship. Love that. Their attention to detail. Right? I think that they will take the time to read the clue and not screw that up because they're cops. That's what they do. They watch the show, they said. They're problem solvers and they're disciplined. But, on the other hand, cops are local, not global. They rely on certainty, not uncertainty, right? They minimize risk in their everyday life. The Amazing Race is about taking risk.
So in other words, their vibe.
Yeah, that's how I describe the vibe. And I get the whole kindergarten cop, they have Arnold Schwarzenegger and they have, Danny DeVito in Mike and Mo. But I just thought that they're in it for a great experience. People are going to really like them.
Yeah.
And I'll say this Akbar. Mike is 6'8".
Yeah.
The guy is maybe the
tall.
biggest human being people will ever see. If he gets to the India leg, people are going to just stare at him because he looks like a bodybuilder, and he is. And they're going to exit in the first 4 legs. That's my guess. So I have Mike and Mo number 8.
I'll take my number 8. This is where I put Lulu and Lala. I agree with you, Nicole. I don't think they're making it far. But I think to their strengths, though, I think the twin vibe is a thing in the sense that, so for twins to be on the same page, to be able to have that, as they describe, twin language and look at each other, that I think will work to their advantage. They know Spanish, so we'll see how far that gets them. But again, what if the race doesn't take place in any Spanish countries? Then where's that leg up?
Josh, number 8. Moving out of your bottom 3, is this your middle of the pack?
Yeah, we're looking at Connie and Sam. I think this is the toll that their lack of communication drives them into the ground. That's it. I think everybody above them, who last, is strong communicators, and they do well. He's the driving force, right? She's not going to be very competitive. They're going to have a lot of yelling matches. They're going to be memorable, but they're going to be in the lower half.
Lizzy, number 8.
My number 8 is Natalia and Arun.
Me too!
Perfect. Yeah, the father-daughter from Detroit. They said that they are longtime fans of the show. They've always wanted
Super
to do
fans
this.
of the show.
Well, that's what made me rank them one thing higher than other people. Will and James were also super fans of the show.
Yep.
Can I interrupt? I'm really sorry. We are now in the post-COVID leg.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Number 8 is post-COVID.
Right. So we didn't know that until today. Just we've seen parent-child relationships go on this show before, and it's always the like good experience thing. She's about to go get married. I feel like this is like a last hurrah with like the father-daughter thing before he gives her away to her fiance, whatever. I think it's all very nice and whatever, but I don't see them going very far.
I agree. I think they are going to have a nice relationship. Like, they seem to be like a good father-daughter duo, but I don't see them like breaking legs to make things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had them at number 7. So I think they're definitely in the good experience category. Detroit versus everybody shirts. Mm-hmm. I like that. They have personality. It's clear. I like that Arun is from India originally.
Yeah.
I think that tells me a little bit. That's what got them out of the no chance. I think that is a drive. I like that they were super fans. There was the season 32 influence. Huge influence.
I think it has a much bigger influence than anyone thinks.
But here we are. We break it down, so we ding it. Good job by us. Yeah. But I had them at number 7, no higher, because Dad's 56.
Yeah.
He's the oldest guy. And if we learned anything, again, 32, what happened to Jerry?
That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, but Jerry was physically impaired. He wasn't able to run.
True.
And not because of his age, because he is health.
That's
if you
true.
look at Arun, he is fit, and he was jumping up and down, and he was running.
I just like to point out,
and it was very much like, go for it.
If I could have a 56-year-old body that is of Arun's physical shape and fitness, I would sign right now for that. So just
Team Guido did very well. Terry and Ian did very well. Season 28, we had a mother-son team also do very well. I say this because I ranked Arun and Natalia very differently. But
so number 7, who did you have number 7, Jeremy?
Anthony and Spencer.
There we go.
Half. Yeah, I kind of
join me on the bottom half.
Yeah, kind of what we talked about earlier. My biggest reason is that I do think that they are very much act fast, think later, but I think what made them as high as they are for me in terms of placing within the race is the fact that they can work well under pressure. I do feel that is a strength of theirs, and I think that's why they'll get this far. But at this point in the race, I feel that the clues, everything, there's going to be a lot more strategy, a lot more complication, and I feel they're not going to take that even moment to think about something. So, number 7.
7, Lulu Lala. I think that they're twins. I think they're going to be really strong. I do think that they are going to work well. I mean, she said that she worked in a hardware store for 5 years. She speaks Spanish. But we're in that middle of the race, and I think they're going to be fun to watch. Not going to make it quite as far as the Cajun Asians, but Cajun Asians were in this next up 3 down.
This is the Leo Alana.
Yeah. It's like the strong competitors, but not quite there.
I couldn't agree more. I also have Lulu and Lala ranked as number 7. So yeah, I think they're also so everything you just said I completely agree with, and to the point, they're radio hosts. So they know how to talk to people, they know how to keep things moving, they know how to deal with people, they know how to be charismatic. I think everybody likes that. They're pretty. So I think they're relying on that to be their like secret weapon, where to me it was like very obvious that that's what they were doing. So I don't think that that's a secret of a weapon, but yeah, number 7, I agree.
Not good endgame material.
Yeah.
All right, now my number 7 was Kim and Penn. Now, also internet personalities, but as opposed to the ones that I ranked going out first, Caro and Ray.
Yep, Caro and Ray.
I feel like this pair is a little bit scrappier. I feel like they will do a little bit more dirty work to get ahead. And I have no basis for that. I don't follow them on social media or anything. It was just a vibe that I got.
Just a vibe.
Number 6, This was a tough one for me. This is one of the more interesting ones. I had Taylor and Isaiah at number 6.
Mm-hmm. As did I.
I had them higher upon first impression, looking at them and thinking about, okay, these two, all right, you know, they are partners, they are married, they are physically fit, they're these like outgoing personalities, and then I watched their interview.
Yeah.
Their video dropped them down from the contender spot, number 4. I thought they were going to be right up there, to 6, and I wanted to put them lower. I just didn't like what I saw. They lacked confidence. I thought these were going to be like super confident guys. I kind of got this lack of confidence vibe, and then the biggest thing was the trust issues.
Yeah,
at the end of the video, I was like, you got to trust me. Okay, yeah, trust. Oh, there was like 6 times they went back and forth about trusting each other. And I just was like, oh no, Taylor, Isaiah, what is happening? And I had to drop them down. So they landed at 6, right, kind of in the middle for me.
I put them just ahead of Kim and Penn. Again,
You're number 6.
Internet people, right? They're kind of these different breed of humans that are very like, look at me! And so the only reason I put them slightly ahead of Kim and Penn is because I thought they might be a little bit wittier than Kim and Penn. But like, it's pretty much neck and neck. I was having a trouble placing these people.
Yeah, it's kind of that middle interchangeableness. Josh, who'd you have at 6?
6, I had Mike and Mo, the singing cops, because of everything that we've said so far. I do actually see them as very fit. They are smart. They are competitive. They are sensible. They are big personalities. But I think, just as you said, as much as we see being a police officer as being advantageous to the race, I think it could also be to their detriment.
Jeremy? 6.
Dusty and Ryan.
Whoa, okay, here we go. New team.
Yep. I think, again, like, we're now talking about the middle of the race here.
But we're trending up here.
Yeah, yes, we're trending up. I think speaking of interview, Tom, I really liked their interview. I was really impressed by
Doesn't seem like it. You got to number 6.
Well, here's the thing. That's because, to me, the other 5 teams, to me, were better. This isn't to say I think they're not good. This is to say I think the other 5 teams were better, which will be very controversial in the coming moments of this interview.
All right, here we go.
But with Dusty and Ryan, I think having been in prison for 10 years, knowing that you had nothing to do with this crime,
it's crazy.
That does something to the mind.
Crazy.
But I think it does something that strengthens him. I think he's going to have so high tolerance. But I really like them. I think they're personally one of my favorite people to follow. But I don't think they're going to do as well as my other teams.
Lizzy, number 6. Finish it out, and we'll get to the top 5s.
My number 6 is Raquel and Kayla. Wow. And, yeah. What the fuck is that?
Thinking about this the wrong way, apparently.
I think so. I think you are thinking about it. I am shocked. Let me just say, that is the most shocking one so far. Go ahead.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah, Lizzy with the hot takes tonight.
That's not me with hot takes.
Oh,
all right, so I think I think them being flight attendants is awesome. I think that they said that they were. I do. Everybody that you will have said it, you just layer off all of the good things about them, and I'm like, yeah, that's why I ranked them higher than you did. So it's your turn. I think. So I think the fact that they're flight attendants, they're used to traveling. I think all of that is great. Their also mindset is the expectation that people will underestimate them, just like Lulu and Lala. So I think that you just coming out and saying that means that it's not a secret weapon, and not that the other teams like watched these interviews, but if you lead with that, people are going to see it, and so they're planning on people using their people's judgment of them to their advantage, and I think people are going to see through it. I think people are going to target them.
Wow.
The blonde girls from last season, Kaylin and
Haley.
They kind of give me
shout out Kaylin and Haley.
They're great, and I think
love them.
I think Raquel and Kayla are going to be great, but they struggled the whole time, And so, I don't know. I think they're going to be out kind of in the middle of the pack. And I'm not going to say... I did have them ranked higher, and I did some adjusting. And so, you know, they weren't immediately a 6 to me, but that's where they landed. So.
Anybody have them at 5?
I had them at 5.
Right,
okay, yeah, see?
Go ahead.
And they're just mediocre to me.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all there is to it.
The one of them, Raquel, she's got this, like, feisty sort of energy, but Kayla totally counterbalances that, and she's, like, happy and smiley and, like, whatever, and I don't know. I don't see it working to the end.
Yeah.
So
Number 5, I had Lulu and Lala. Could have had them easily at 6, 7, somewhere like that. Again, interchangeable. I like their relationship. I actually like the twins thing. I think that that's a strength. I think this is a show based on communication and relationships. But I actually saw what you saw, Nicole. Obviously, you valued it a little bit more than I did in that lack of a killer instinct. You know, they're radio hosts. They can never be too hot takey and have too much conviction because they're on iHeartRadio. They're not on some other edgier radio.
like this radio.
Exactly. All right, Jeremy, who'd you have 5?
This is where I put Akbar and Sheridan.
Wow. Right.
Whoa!
No, we thought Lizzy had the hot takes. So here's the thing: educators, principal, innovation. I think
Innovation.
Yeah, he started the Lights Out program. I think
that's cool.
I think this team is probably going to be one of the most creative with solving the different challenges.
Just don't look at him. Just don't look at him.
Yeah,
That's
All right.
I think this team is going to be really creative with the way they solve their challenges, and I think also they're going to. I think both of them deal with. This is what I said earlier. I think stress management is going to be a factor in this race. So all of my above teams, I think, are actually going to be really good with handling stress management. And that's really starting with Akbar and Sheridan, being educators, especially a principal, and trying to find change in your community. I think that takes a lot of willpower, a lot of drive. I think the relationship is going to hold strong. So, yeah, they're former Division I players. But, I think they could still keep up in this race.
Wow. Josh,
Okay,
5.
so now we're turning into my upper half. We just finished my lower half. My upper half, I think the upper 3, 4, 5 can probably be interchangeable, and then 1 and 2. But my 5 is Isaiah and Taylor. Again, pretty much for all the reasons we still said, I do think that they are strong communicators, and I think that they are together. And one of them is a therapist, and I think that they're playing for the camera. I think that that's what that little bicker back and forth is. I know what that's like, and I don't see it as a detriment to them, but I do see it as more like a fun, kind of flirty kind of way.
Number 5.
My number 5 is Kim and Penn.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Again, we're in this fluid sort of category for me. They could have been up, they could have been down, so I expect them to do well, but I don't expect them to win. They said themselves they were the oldest couple. I think that from their video, they have a lot of energy. That's really great, but I think this race is going to take a toll on them. I think they're going to get run down. And I just don't see them lasting. Kim said she was kind of nervous. She used the word expose a lot about us, which makes me think they're going to crash and burn or something. I don't know what's going to happen, but the language she used in describing them was very interesting to me. So, I don't know. I put them at 5 is where they landed.
I have them as a sleeper at number 4.
Yeah.
And one of my sleepers is Lulu and Lala. Kim and Penn, I'm with you. I read it the same way that you did. But I'm betting on Penn in this one. This is a bet on Penn, like a Tara and Will, just get on my back. I will drag you across. He's fit.
Yeah.
He's I wrote down, and if you read my blog, you'll see what my take is. But he looks like a Winklevoss, one of the Facebook twins.
Yeah.
He's like this super tall, lean guy. I like that they're energetic and they have a fun personality. I think that will serve them. And they have a longer relationship. I think that's important, especially. Look who we all had in the cellar of the game here, Carol and Ray. Kim and Penn, they're married. They're a little bit in better shape. Although Jeremy had Akbar and Sherry up that high, I think I can't see that. But
y'all laughing now, laugh at me now.
But I see that with Kim and Penn, so that's why I had them up there. They had the most views on their Instagram video preview. They have over 668,000 followers. And I love that they just kind of took the risk and like went all in with this as their life.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to serve them on the race too. That's
it seems like they have been influencers before influencers were a thing. Mm-hmm. It seems that way to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that's cool.
Nicole, number 4.
Number 4, I have Connie and Sam. I think Sam arguably wants it the most out of any contestant that we've seen. However, Connie does not. And so, it is for that reason that I see why Tom and I could never compete on the race.
Yeah, we would be Connie and Sam.
Because we would be Connie and Sam. He would be a lunatic, and I could see Sam being a bit of a hothead. And this is completely just judgmental based on this tiny video clip. Maybe completely unjustified, but
he's a football coach.
He's a football coach. I feel like he would be like, and Connie just doesn't want it as much as he does.
Lizzy, number 4, who'd you have?
My number 4 is Dusty and Ryan. I think they're going to get so far. Again, top 4, great place to be. I think you've done really well. Something about their relationship and maybe the fact that Ryan has been kind of out of the world for the last 10 years is going to catch up to them. I don't know. I think they're going to get really far. I think it's going to be great. But they also use the phrase like making up for lost time together. And that falls into more of the like here for a good time sort of category as opposed to the I want to win $1 million category. I think they're naturally very fit. They're young. So that's why I think they'll get this far. But I don't know if they have the drive to win as much as I think some other people do.
Okay. Josh?
Raquel and Kayla.
As your number 4?
That's my number 4.
Dang.
They're strong. They are. And like I said, making it to the top 4 is the hard kind of if and out. But I don't know if they have it all.
This is also where I put Raquel and Kayla, so I'm in agreement with you, Josh. I think they're going to do this well, partly because they are flight attendants. I'll have an honest moment here. I thought when I was making these power rankings that they were going to be using public planes. I truly did. And I think Raquel and Kayla are going to have the strongest advantage at the airports.
Of course.
If that is the case. But also I think, too, like, they're going to have a little bit of experience all over the world. Mm-hmm. They're dealing with stressful hours and kind of being ready in emergency situations, keeping themselves cool. I think it is going to get them far.
Who wants to kick off the top 3?
Mike and Mo. I think they are going to be the team that everyone wants to align with. They've got very friendly smiles.
Yeah.
They're likable. They're singers. They're cops. They're safe. You know?
Alliances.
I think it's going to come into play here.
It's true.
Look at you, Nicole. The only one thinking
Mike and Mo,
here.
number 3?
Mike and Mo. They're
we're back.
Coming in at number 3.
That's it. Look at this.
Keep it going.
I think I wasn't quite thinking alliances, but you make a great point, Nicole.
I'm cute.
The phrase that stuck out to me in their interview was, we trust each other and we've been through each other in the darkest times. I think
huge strength.
Yeah, I think that strength is really what's going to push them forward. Also, like, how one of them literally, like, I think they have one of the strongest drives because one of them lost 50 pounds for the Amazing Race.
Yeah, but that guy is 360 pounds.
All right, Tom. Tom, you lose 20 pounds for Amazing Race, and then let's talk. So I think that drive alone is really going to push him.
Where did I put them? Number 9? Fuck me.
Lizzy, number 3.
My number 3 is Connie and Sam. Sam and Connie.
Respect, Connie and Sam.
I'm so surprised.
I get
respect here.
Just a big Tarian energy from them. And you know what? Terry and Ian were okay with the dynamic that they had.
Thank you.
They were good with it.
Thank you.
I don't think Connie is going to be like upset about. She knows they're married. She knows who her husband is.
Whoa, we just went southern a little bit.
Okay. Well,
too much time in the Midwest.
This turtleneck is hot. Okay. Anyway, I think that they have the drive. I think
Yes.
Sam has the drive, and Connie is along for the ride, and she knows what she's getting herself into because she's been married to it for all of these years.
Yep.
They understand the dynamic, and Sam's drive is going to take them super far. And they're still young enough to do so.
Josh, number 3?
Number 3, Anthony and Spencer. I think we've seen that male couples get so far. Not couples, but like male duos.
Yeah, whatever.
They do so well in this race, and I don't see them as a huge contender. I think I even wrote like fine. But I think that usually number 3s are like the sleeper people that sometimes you're like, what are they doing here? But they made it this far, and I think they're physically fit. They have some smarts, and I think they're going to do okay.
Keyword some. Number 3 for me, my one contender, I had Dusty and Ryan.
Yeah.
Josh said it, he introduced it. He's right. The 2 males that are alpha and like these big physical, they're strong, they're athletic. They are best friends. They got everything going for them. They have all the strengths that, you know, Riley and Madison had. They're kind of in that archetype, right? That's who they are in that sense. And their story is right there with the Anthony and Spencer, like, insane, incredible story. Maybe that's why I should have had them lower, but 10 years in jail, wrongfully accused. I just love the outlook that they had for the whole race. This is an opportunity, make up lost time. I just think that is going to make allies. People are going to hear that story. They're going to love these guys. And I think it's the right approach. I could see them easily winning. Top 2.
Kim and Penn.
Wow. Kim and Penn.
No
Here
way.
Heck yeah way.
They're here for a good time.
They are anchors. They are journalists. They know how to get information. They know how to get the scoop. I think information gathering, they're going to be strong. Anchors and journalists also have to deal with hours on end. In their interview, they said they have worked into the night and through the night. I think information plays such a huge role in this. When we were watching our faves, Rob and Amber, and even before their unfortunate dismissal from the All-Star season, they knew how to get information, and they were good, and they did so well with it. So I think Kim and Penn are going to be there. Also, they are video creators. Similar to why Akbar and Sheridan, I think they're going to be innovators. They literally were like, yeah, let's have a family, but like also let's completely quit our jobs, both work at the same time, and break into this new industry. I think that drive, that innovation, that creativity, along with gathering resources, and Penn being fit, and Kim being fit too. Let's not forget that. Kim also looks pretty damn fit. We said fuck here, so I could say damn. I think Kim and Penn will do really well in this race.
Josh doesn't look sold, but Josh, tell us on your number 2.
Dustin and Ryan. Dusty and Ryan and Dusty. Yep, same kind of thing. They're 2 strong males. We see them. They're fit. I think that they could win. I actually went back and forth a couple of times between them winning and not, but I think when you look at it out of 1,000 times, I think they probably don't win more than they win.
Anybody else have 2 males in the number 3 slot? Lizzy and Nicole, hands are up. Go ahead.
I got Anthony and Spencer.
So do I.
All right, they're childhood friends. That story of them, like the quick thinking, crazy rush into this insane situation. I think they're ready for the race. They're fit. They're good travelers. They're best friends. So I think that they've got what it takes. I don't know. They just seemed like a really strong team to me.
Agree. Heroes, well traveled, fit.
Yep.
Fearless. Fearless. Nothing. There's nothing that Amazing Race could throw at them that would be more terrifying than a real life ISIS terrorist, right? So they're going to be up for any challenge. Mm-hmm. Maybe filmmaking is not their strong suit. I'm not going to hold it against them. I don't think that will affect their ability to run a great race.
You make good points.
All right, number 2. This was a really hard one. Connie and Sam, number 2. Ultimately, the way he talks, the way he communicates, he's a winner. He has a vision. You have to step through it. When he talks to Connie, she is so in alignment with him and the vision. She's so in. She is Tammy Taylor to his Eric Taylor. That dynamic is going to work. He is going to lead them. Football coaches are all about watching tape. I guarantee you they broke down film on the previous races, what to expect. I guarantee you that Sam prepared as much, if not the most, out of any single competitor. That's what football coaches do. And they're pretty incredible. He brings home a kid that plays quarterback for him and they win state and they're part of the family. Like, that's insanely amazing, and that speaks to their character, the type of people they are, and I could not be rooting for them harder.
Except for they're your number 2.
They are my number 2. Lizzy, since you won, you guessed it, you dinged it, you got Will and James for 32. Can she do it again? Who you got, number 1?
Taylor and Isaiah. Don't give me that look.
Phone drop from Josh. Dude, it's laughter. Disappointment.
Make your point.
Shock.
Who are you watching?
Apparently, we all watched different videos.
We really did.
To get our rankings
really
here.
Did.
YouTube sensations. They are husbands. They've been together for 10 years. They said that their plan is to come in under the radar. I don't think that they will. But what sold me on them, not only is one of them is a therapist, I think, right? So that means that he is cognizant of the situation. He is cognizant of his partner. They are going to be checking in with each other. I know one of you was like doing the "Do you trust me?" That was Isaiah and Taylor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you listen to me, is what he said.
Right.
Gotta trust me.
I think
as long as you listen to me.
I think it's a front. I think that is a conversation that they have a lot.
I agree.
So I think that that's something that they're comfortable talking about, which means that we might not be comfortable talking about it. It doesn't matter. I think they seem very aware of the situation. I think they're going to be very aware with where they stand in the race. And bottom line, what sold me about them was their mindset is all you have to win is the final leg. They know that. They know that.
That's a big Josh phrase.
They're aware of it.
You gotta just beat one team.
All you have to do, you just have to come in before one other team. And no other team said that. No other team has that mindset. They're not going to try too hard right off the bat. So I expect them to not do well until, we get kind of to the end of the season. They've been together for a while. I don't think quarantine will have phased them. I don't know. I think they're going to do good.
That's true, and it's something we talk about in this podcast. Don't be last.
I appreciate the
I have
passion right there, Lizzy. Well said.
I saved it for my top 1.
You did a nice job. Who wants it next? Who wants next? Jeremy, number 1.
All right, y'all. Here is a hot take. Arun and Natalia.
Oh my.
What? Who? Oh my God.
That is also my winner.
I will also say
that is also my winner.
Thank you. All right. Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Josh, you could say what you thought, but I'll say.
Wow.
I think.
Here we go. This is interesting.
Cool. We have a father-daughter team who super fans of the show, so they know this show. So similar to what you were saying, Tom, earlier about Sam being a studier, I think too they've studied the show. But also, I think they're super fans.
Since she was 8 years old.
Yeah, 8 years old. And she's 28.
Yeah.
She's 28 right now. She has been watching this show for 20 years.
And this has been his lifelong dream.
Yeah,
they have.
He knows what he's going to come out with some disposable underwear. That's what's going to happen.
And
he's going to know it.
They are world travelers. They've been traveling with the world their entire life. Also, I'd like to say their professions. Arun is a manager. Natalia is a designer. Yep. We are very much left brain, right brain combination right here.
Completely agree.
Josh, take it away.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. World travelers, he said he could drive stick shift. They're good communicators, and she is a strong woman leader. And we know that strong women leaders do well in this race.
Wow. Nicole, try to follow that one.
Well, I have number 1, Dusty and Ryan.
Yeah.
Complete package. Okay? Nobody has a better why than Dusty. He's making up for lost time of being convicted. Ryan, sorry. In jail for 10 years, wrongly accused.
Dusty.
And, I mean, who has a better reason than him? I also think it's great that they're best friends. It seems like they have a great relationship together. They're both very athletic-looking guys.
Absolutely.
They're a great age for this.
Yep.
Also, looking at their occupations. A pilot trainer, so he's got to be well-traveled.
Mm-hmm.
And a sales manager. Okay? Anyone who's good in sales is going to do well, most likely, in this type of race.
I agree.
All right, Tom.
All right, let's finish this off. I thought Lizzy and I were going to be in on this one together.
Well, what?
I thought you were going to be aligned with me on Raquel and Kayla.
I thought so too.
I thought that was going to be me and you.
Aw, oh, that's so sweet.
Walking in harmony on that, but I was wrong. But I have them at number 1. Raquel and Kayla are flight attendants. Yeah. Now, if you read Tribal Council blog and you followed Survivor 41, pre-season ranked Ricard number 1. I had him as my winner. Why? Because he's a flight attendant. And a flight attendant, I just think, has certain skills of managing people and situations. And in this case, for The Amazing Race, even more important, I thought the travel would be a huge piece of it.
Yeah.
I love that they have kind of the lifestyle of living out of the bag and the backpack and kind of traveling around and just doing that whole piece of it. I really, really loved.
Question. If Ricard didn't win, why would you choose them as number 1?
Because Ricard was the best player on Survivor 41.
Totally.
Undoubtedly.
He should have won.
You're right. You're totally right.
He was the...
You're totally right.
That's who he was. And I think they possess the same skills, the same outlook. They're not afraid to take chances, go outside their comfort zone. I think that's part of what the race asks. I don't think most of these teams bring that aspect to the race. And I love what they said. Our strategy, I think, is to use other people's judgments of us to our advantage. And I'm pretty sure 90% of the other teams are going to guess that we're going to be the first ones eliminated. But I mean, they've never spoken to us. They don't really understand the depths of who we are as people and what we're capable of.
Okay, I agree.
Boom.
It's spunky, but however,
Powerful.
That was
smart,
muddy.
knowledgeable.
That sentence applies to everybody. Nobody's spoken to each other.
That's true, but the way they said it, and they were like, good, underestimate us, right?
Multiple teams said that.
But you think that we're weak, we're 2 women, we're kind of petite, we are flight attendants, people kind of see them a certain way.
Erica of Survivor.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I was going to say
Dustin
and Candace vibes.
Yeah.
They come off as
I got
strong
Dustin
women.
And Candace vibes too.
And so, to me, they are and if you read my blog, my comparison, they've learned the Terry Silver of Cobra Kai Season 4 lesson to, that's what Josh said off before, about letting your opponents think that you're weak so that you can strike first, strike hard, and show no mercy. And that's why I think Raquel and Kayla will do, and I think that they will cross the finish line first, and I'm rooting for that to happen.
Make a good case.
Well... Thank you, everyone. That was awesome. We have very different rankings. I thought that we would have a little bit more alignment. The only things that we kind of were in alignment were on Caro and Ray, sorry to them, and Akbar and Sherry, except for Jeremy and a couple hot takes here and there.
I'm rooting for you too, Akbar and Sherry.
Dusty down below, right? Dusty and Ryan down below is a pretty...
Yeah, they're pretty much in the top 4 or 5, and... Yeah, but it's very spread out, folks. This is going to be much different than Season 32, where we had pretty much the same 3 or 4 in the top. So it's going to be a very different result. But it's time to go and watch the first episode. We will be back after Episode 1 to recap it all. Thank you for being here. The blog has spoken.